She stood in front of the gate and shouted, "No one goes in without HOA approval." The ambulance siren was still loud, flashing red lights bouncing off the houses, but it wasn't moving. My hands were shaking. My father was inside, barely breathing. "Move your car!" the paramedic yelled, but Karen didn't move. She folded her arms like she owned the whole street. "This is a private road. You people never follow rules." I couldn't believe it.
"He's dying. Please!"
She stepped closer to the ambulance like she was the boss. "Then you should have filed a request. Emergency vehicles still need clearance here." For a second, everything went quiet in my head. Just the sound of my dad choking for air behind me. One of the paramedics tried to push past her, but she pulled out her phone. "Don't touch me! I'm calling the HOA president and the police." "Police? For what?" I looked at her. Really looked this time. Same woman who sent fake notices last week. Same woman who said my house didn't match community standards. She had been waiting for something like this. "I already called 911, I snapped. She smirked. "Good. Let them deal with you." Another minute passed, then another. The ambulance stayed stuck. My dad's breathing got worse. Short, broken. One paramedic whispered to me, "We might lose him if we don't move now." That hit hard. I turned back to her. "If he dies, it's on you." She didn't even blink. Rules are rules. That's when I saw it, a small camera on her porch, pointing straight at us. She was recording everything. But she didn't know. My house had cameras too, and what she didn't know was even bigger than that. Far in the distance, a new sound started cutting through the air. Not sirens this time. Something louder. Something coming fast. The sound grew louder, heavy, shaking the ground under our feet. Karen looked up, confused. "What is that?" she said, stepping back for the first time. I didn't answer. The wind hit us hard, dust flying everywhere, trees bending like something big was dropping in. The paramedics froze for a second, then one of them grabbed his radio. That's not normal dispatch. And then we saw it. A rescue helicopter came straight over the houses, low, powerful, like it had no time to waste. It circled once, then started coming down right in the open lot near my driveway. Karen's face changed. You didn't call that." I looked at her, calm now. "I didn't." The helicopter landed fast. No delay, no questions. Two men jumped out, moving like they had done this 100 times. No hesitation. One of them looked straight at me. "You called it in?" I nodded. "Yes." Karen stepped forward again, trying to take control. "You can't land here. This is HOA property." The man didn't even look at her. "Ma'am, step aside." She raised her voice. "I said this is a restricted... Step aside." This time his tone was different. Cold, final. For the first time, she actually moved back. They rushed inside with me. My dad was worse now, barely conscious. Oxygen went on, equipment came out, fast, clean, controlled. One of them looked at me quietly. "You got lucky." "Another few minutes." I swallowed hard. "I know." Behind us, Karen was still outside, talking loud on the phone. "Yes, send officers now. There's illegal landing, trespassing, everything." I stepped out again as they carried my dad toward the helicopter. She pointed at me like she finally had something. "You're done. I've reported everything. You think you can break rules and get away with it?" I walked closer to her. Not angry, just steady. "You still don't get it, do you?" She laughed. "Oh, I get it. You think you're special." I leaned in just a little. "No, you just picked the wrong person today." She frowned. "What does that mean?" Before I could answer, 2 police cars pulled up fast. Karen smiled again, relief all over her face. "Finally." The officers stepped out, looked at the helicopter, the crew, then at me. One of them walked straight toward me and asked quietly, "Are you the one who made the call?" I nodded. He glanced back at Karen, then back at me, and his whole expression changed. "All right," he said slowly. "We're going to need a word with her." Karen's smile faded. "Wait, what?" Because what she didn't know yet was that this wasn't just an emergency call. It was a priority override, sent from someone she had no power over. Karen stepped back, her voice shaking a little now. No, you've got this wrong. He's the one breaking rules!" He brought a helicopter into a private community. The officer didn't even look at me this time. He kept his eyes on her. Ma'am, we already know what happened. How? She snapped. I called you. Yeah, he said calmly, and so did dispatch. With full details. Her face went blank for a second. What details? I stayed quiet. The second officer walked past her and looked up at the helicopter crew. You guys were cleared through state emergency, right? One of the crew members nodded. Priority call, time sensitive. Karen shook her head like none of it made sense. No, that's not possible. This address isn't even registered for that kind of access. That's when the first officer turned slightly and pointed toward my house. It is now. Silence. You could feel it. Heavy, uncomfortable. She looked at me again, but this time there was doubt in her eyes. What did you do? I took a slow breath. I didn't do anything. I just made one call. One call doesn't bring a helicopter. She shot back. I tilted my head a little. Depends on who you call. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Behind us, the stretcher was already inside the helicopter. My dad was hooked to machines, stabilized just enough to move. The blade started spinning again, faster, louder. The same paramedic who argued with her earlier walked past and muttered, just loud enough. 9 minutes wasted. Remember that. That line hit harder than anything. Karen's eyes followed them, then snapped back to me. You think this is over? You violated HOA code, blocked a secured road, caused... Blocked. One officer cut her off. She froze. He stepped closer. We have footage. From multiple angles. You blocked an active emergency vehicle. Her voice dropped. I was enforcing rules. On a life-threatening situation? The other officer said. That's not enforcement. That's obstruction. Now she looked nervous. Really nervous. I was just trying to keep order. I finally spoke again, calm but firm. No. You were trying to control something that was never yours. For a second, no one said anything. Then the officer pulled out his notepad. Ma'am, we're going to need you to stay right here. Her head snapped up. Why? He looked her straight in the eyes. Because this just turned into something much bigger than HOA rules. And as the helicopter lifted off behind us, carrying my father away, Karen realized. She wasn't in charge anymore. The helicopter disappeared into the sky, and for the first time since all this started, everything felt quiet, too quiet. Karen tried to step away slowly like she could just walk out of it. I have a meeting. I can't stay here for this, she said, forcing a smile. Ma'am, the officer said, not moving, you're not leaving. Her smile dropped. You can't hold me here. I didn't do anything wrong. I almost said something, but I didn't need to. One of the paramedics, the same one who begged her to move earlier, walked back toward the officers. I gave a statement already, he said. She blocked us. Clear as day. Karen turned fast. That's not true. You're twisting things. Ma'am, he cut in, a man almost died. That shut her up for a second, but then she tried again, louder this time. This is harassment. I know my rights. This is a private HOA community. The officer raised his hand slightly. And this is a medical emergency under state law. Your HOA rules don't override that. Her voice cracked a little. I was just following procedure. I finally stepped forward. No, you made your own rules. She looked at me, angry again, trying to grab control one last time. You think you're safe? You brought a helicopter here without approval. Do you even know what kind of violations that brings? I held her gaze. Yeah, I do. She laughed nervously. Then you know you're in trouble too? That's when the second officer spoke again, calm but sharp. Actually, he's not. She blinked. What? He had full clearance, the officer said. Signed and approved. By who? She demanded. There was a pause. Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. I told you. It depends on who you call. I tapped the screen and turned it toward her. At first, she didn't get it. Then her eyes widened. No, that's fake. It's not. Her hands started shaking now. You're lying. The officer leaned slightly to look at the screen, then gave a small nod. That checks out. Karen stepped back like the ground shifted under her. This isn't possible. I slipped my phone back into my pocket. You kept asking why a helicopter came in 9 minutes, I said quietly. She didn't answer. So I'll tell you. I paused just enough. My wife made the call. Karen frowned. So what? That doesn't mean anything. I looked straight at her. It does when she's the one who trains the emergency response teams in this state. Silence hit again. Heavy, because now everything she thought she controlled was gone. Karen's mouth opened, but nothing came out. She looked from me to the officers, like she was waiting for someone to laugh and say it was a joke. No one did. That's not possible, she whispered. One of the officers spoke quietly. Ma'am, the priority override came from a certified command line. That's not something you fake. Her breathing got faster. No, there has to be a mistake. This address, this family was never approved here. I let out a slow breath. You never approved us. That's different. She shook her head, trying to hold on to something. You don't belong in this neighborhood. I checked your records. You don't have the right profile, no HOA clearance history, nothing. There it was. Not rules, not safety, just control. I stepped closer. You checked what you wanted to check. Her eyes narrowed. What does that mean? Before I could answer, one of the officer's radios crackled. He listened for a second, then looked straight at her. Ma'am, we just got confirmation. She froze. Confirmation of what? He didn't rush it. Your HOA authority has been suspended. Effective immediately. It hit like a shockwave. Her face went pale. You can't do that. I'm the acting head of this community. Not anymore, the second officer said. She backed up, shaking her head. No, this is wrong. I built this system. I enforce the rules here, and you abuse them, the officer replied calmly. For the first time, she looked small. But I was protecting this place, she said, her voice breaking now. I shook my head slowly. No, you were deciding who deserves to live here. She looked at me like she finally understood. But it was too late. The officer took a step forward. Ma'am, based on witness statements, video footage, and emergency obstruction, we're placing you under investigation. Her eyes filled with panic. Investigation? For what? He looked her straight in the eyes. For blocking a life-saving response and impersonating authority you didn't legally have. That last line broke her. I didn't know, she whispered. I replied quietly, that's the problem. You never asked. Behind us, the sound of the helicopter was gone now, just empty sky. But something else had changed. The power had shifted, and Karen knew it. Karen stood there frozen, like she was waiting for someone to save her from reality. The officers moved closer, but she still kept shaking her head. This is a setup. I want my lawyer. I want the HOA board here right now, she shouted. No one answered her. The second officer spoke into his radio again, then looked up. Board members are already being contacted, and they're not defending you. That hit her hard. Her phone slipped slightly in her hand. No, they have to support me. I've been running everything here for years. I looked at her. That's the problem. She turned sharply. What problem? You stopped serving people and started controlling them. For a moment, she looked like she might argue again. But then her eyes shifted toward the ambulance spot, the place where my father had been trapped minutes ago. The silence there felt heavier than anything she said. One officer walked a little closer to me. Your father is stable. He's en route now. They made it in time. My shoulders finally dropped a little. Karen noticed that. Her voice got softer. So, he's alive? I nodded. Because you were stopped. That line made her flinch. I didn't want that to happen, she said quickly. I was just following HOA protocol. The paramedic stepped in again, shaking his head. There is no protocol that allows blocking an emergency ambulance. She looked at him like she wanted to deny it, but couldn't find words this time. Then suddenly, a black SUV pulled up behind the police cars. Everyone turned. The door opened, and a woman stepped out, calm, professional. No rush in her steps. Karen's face changed instantly. No! The woman looked directly at her first, then at me. Report received, she said simply. We reviewed everything in real time. Karen whispered, You're not supposed to be here. The woman didn't respond to that. Instead, she walked closer and said one line that made everything stop again. This HOA board has been dissolved by state order. Karen stumbled back. Dissolved? No. You can't. The woman continued. Abuse of emergency obstruction, false enforcement actions, and unauthorized threats to residents. Karen turned toward me now, desperate. Tell them. You know I didn't mean... But I didn't move. Because now it wasn't about me. It was about everything she built, collapsing in front of her. And she finally understood. There was no rule left she could hide behind. End the story.